Hey there, my name's Mortimer, your friendly neighborhood degenerate, and I have had this cloud over my head for the past 3 years. This book has just been in my house since 2018, and I'm only now getting around to it because I just want this curse lifted. I want to be free of this burden. I hate seeing this book amongst my things, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna talk about it right now, and hopefully you can follow my incoherent ramblings because I have a lot to say about this book. Let's just get into it. Now, I think it's safe to say that I'm a fan of Hocus Pocus. I mean, I have the Blu-ray, and I have this shirt that admittedly looked pretty sus when I wore it out in public the other day. But I love this movie. I love the writing, the story, the characters, everything about it. It just brings me so much joy. It has become a staple in my house to watch every Halloween. And apparently 25 years have passed since the movie's release. So back in July of 2018, when this book came out, I bought it and I made a video on it. I actually was part of the July haul that year. I think it was one of my last haul videos that I ever did because I kind of, okay, side note, I really don't like haul video. Well, I like watching them and I don't, like, it's cool if other people make them. I can't make them because I know they're just books I'll never read. So I stopped doing haul videos, but in my last haul video, I talked about a very special book called Hocus Pocus and the all-new sequel. I kind of just left it stewing in my house for about 3 years now, and I figured, you know what, I'm in a Hocus Pocus mood, let's review it. And then I read it, and then I severely regretted it. I don't know what else to do apart from talk about it, so without further ado, let's talk about this book. So Hocus Pocus and the all-new sequel, like I said, came out in 2018 to commemorate the 25th anniversary of the movie. The movie came out in 1993. It's a very 90s movie. If you haven't seen it, I suggest pausing this and going to watch it because it's genuinely a fun time. Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy are the witches, and they are absolutely hysterical. Just everything about it. It's Kenny Ortega pre-High School Musical, so you know you're gonna have a good time, basically. So pause this, go watch it, and then come back. And then we can talk about what is essentially the novelization of the movie. So this book is split into 2 parts, so it only seems fitting that I split this review into 2 parts. So we shall begin with part 1. Part 1. The book of the movie. Of the Rise of the Planet of the Apes. So part 1 basically just retells the story of the movie, and I think that this is a fun experiment in terms of medium and how much from the original source material will translate when the medium changes. I like that idea, I just hate the whole cynical cash grab aspect of it, of like, oh, it's 25 years after the movie and now everyone likes this movie. It's like a sort of cult classic. So let's write a book and make some money because Disney is scummy. But it does retell the movie for the most part well. I mean, it kind of has to. It doesn't, there's no reason for it not to. We do get little tidbits of characterization that of course we didn't get in the movie because it wouldn't fit a visual medium. Case in point, Max, the main guy, now has a friend in California whom he sometimes talks to, or at least off screen he would talk to him about his life in Salem and all that stuff. And of course they have to add little tidbits in terms of sprinkling in sequel fodder, so they kind of just inject foreshadowing for the sequel in there as well. And it's not like obnoxious or anything, so I didn't mind it. If anything, I like that it was pretty seamless. Like, it played on aspects of the movie. Like, there's a scene where the witches, they look up and they're like, "Mother!" Like, there's that little scene, it's cute, and it's like one thing. Now Winifred is like constantly thinking about her mother, like, what would my mother think, like, if she could see me now, and like, I miss her and stuff like that. Like, I miss her cooking. There's a lot of Winnie reminiscing about her mother's cooking in here, which is actually very funny. Another aspect of the movie it plays off of, those cages. So there's 2 bully characters in the story. There's Jay and Ernie.
How many times I gotta tell you? My name ain't Ernie no more. It's Ice.
This is ice.
The cages that they're trapped in the movie, apparently Winnie had twin phoenixes that she used to keep in those cages, and then Mary let them out one night, and I thought that was a cute little bit of characterization. But then you get into the problem of the movie did it, so now we kind of have to do it too. So in the movie there's a scene where you know, Max and the girl character Allison are just walking, I think walking home from school or something like that. And the analog in the book, right afterwards, it says, Max sighed and looked down at the sidewalk. At least he still had his sweet new shoes. Like, there's no mention of the shoes before, like, in the text. That line only exists to set up the bit later where he gets his shoes stolen, which is a funny bit in the movie, but now because the movie did it, we have to do it. Because, like, without the movie, that line just has, there's no reason for that line to exist, but it's like, oh, the movie did it, so now we gotta mention. It's like, hey, remember the shoes bit? Like, it's just, it makes me tired. I just don't, I don't know what else to say. Another thing about this part is that they take the jokes from the movie, and of course they're not as funny because, you know, the ladies who were saying those jokes made them funny. But just reading about Sarah jumping around going amok, 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 it's not as funny as, like, actually seeing it. So yeah, a couple things are lost in that sense of, like, losing that visual aspect. And I don't know where else to say this, but the chapter titles, they're just like, the chapter titles, they're just quotes taken from the scene. I mean, you can do that, but for every fucking chapter, like, Yabos, let's brew another batch. Like, these are just, this is terribly uncomfortable. Like, these are just lines. Some of them aren't even iconic lines, like, but they're just lines from the movie and just smacked on there because it's like, oh, that's a recognizable bit from the movie. We can make that the chapter title. The biggest thing I think I have to say about this retread of the movie, essentially, is that it definitely feels like it was written in 2018. Okay, let me explain. The best way to describe it is Running Shine's video on Yick, a postmodern RPG, where he's basically like, oh man, oops, I dropped my Green Day CD, like, oh fuck, there goes Eric and Dylan again, those rascals. Like, it's just very like, look, it's the 90s. Yay, more shitty camera audio, everyone's favorite. Hello gang, future disheveled editing Mo here. So I'm going through my notes and there's actually a couple things I forgot, so I'll just be sort of interspersing my future notes in here. So in the first bit, there's actually a very nice scene right when they sort of meet Billy Butcherson, the zombie, for the first time. There's a really cute scene where Allison and Max are walking down in the crypt. What you know about walking down in the crypt? And immediately date this video. Just just put a fucking date stamp on that. Ugh. There's actually a really cute scene where Max gets kind of awkward around her and he's like, hey, I'm really sorry that my sister referred to your breasts so openly. That was really weird. I apologize for that. And then Allison's like, well, you shouldn't be apologizing for her. She's a child. You should be apologizing for yourself, you idiot. And then he does, which is it's actually a really cute scene. I very much enjoyed it. And there's like a whole little thing afterwards where they're sort of bonding and he's like, you know, I like this stuff about you. It's not just your looks. I just said that because my friend didn't want to know about like the tiny intricacies about you, so I just told him, oh yeah, she's super hot. He's like, I love all these things about you. I love how kind you are and how selfless you are. And I'm like, that's so nice because that's way more than what we get in the movie. I mean, in the movie, it's like, yeah, alright, it's a 90s kids movie, like they're gonna get together at the end. But this is like, they genuinely have like a nice rapport. Like they have a nice back and forth. They have actually pretty decent chemistry. It's just like the back and forth banter that I really enjoy. Yeah, and then she's like, oh, you shouldn't try to be someone you're not. I really like who you are when you're with Danny. Like, that should be you all the time. And he's like, that is me all the time, but I'm just like, everyone's gonna think I'm a loser. And I don't know, it's just very, it's very nice. I enjoy that. So that's the thing with the novelization of the first movie. It's good. Like, I actually enjoy it. It adds a little bit more character, you know, there's a couple more scenes that wouldn't really translate well, excuse me, in a visual medium. As a novelization, it's good. I enjoyed reading it, you know? It was like, hey, it's the movie with like a little extra sprinkled in. Now, if this was just a novelization of the movie, that'd be fine. However, Disney decided to treat us with a sequel. So now we're gonna talk about it. I'm gonna try not to develop a fucking brain aneurysm, but no promises. back to the squeakquel. So, it is 2018, 25 years later from the original movie, and Poppy Dennison is the child of Max and Allison. And now she's 17. She goes to Jacob Bailey High, and Max, her dad, is now the AP history teacher, which, you know what? Honestly, if Snake can become the principal of Degrassi High, then sure, Max is now an AP history teacher. I'll buy it. Poppy has a friend named Travis, and has a crush on Isabella Richards, her classmate. They're the three of this book. So you had Max, Allison, and Danny in the original as like the three, and then you have Poppy, Travis, and Isabella, who are the three in this book. Poppy doesn't believe in Halloween. She doesn't like celebrating it. She, I think she got made fun of because like her parents are like believers in like witches and ghosts and shit. Also, it's nice to know that my favorite characters now have PTSD from the event. That's fun to read. Thank you. That's only the first way that this is written like fan fiction, and I'll get into it later, but this sequel is very much written like fan fiction. It very much is like a 25 years later child of the original characters fic. Poppy's a non-believer, but she has the keys to the Sanderson house because, well, the same reason Allison had the keys to the Sanderson house in the movie. It used to be a museum that her parents used to run. So they take like a $5 Ouija board, dead ass, this is the plot. They take a $5 fucking Ouija board, they go to the Sanderson house, and they straight up perform a seance. Because there's no black flame candle to light and be like cool and interesting and original. No, we'll just do a fucking Lance Stewart don't play Ouija in a graveyard at 3 a.m. challenge video. So I play the Ouija board. They actually get a response from the Ouija board, and I want to say that it's Emily, but it's actually not made clear who is contacting them through the board. They use the board, they contact a spirit, lights flicker, very spoopy. The whole catalyst for the story is there being an exchange spell. So the witches who were defeated in the first one, they come back and are swapped with Danny, Allison, and Max, which I guess makes sense if you want to bring them back and you want to add some stakes. So it's like, oh, Poppy doesn't have any parental figures. Like, oh no, what is she gonna do? I mean, I get why you would want to raise those stakes like that, but like, I like these characters and I don't like the new characters, and you're sticking me with these characters that I don't like, and you're getting rid of the characters that I do like. I don't like that, to say the least. It's the same situation where they have until sunup to reverse the spell. It's okay, so the spell, so the three witches from hell swap with the three OG main characters so that now they're in hell and the witches are on earth. And this lasts until sunrise. And the whole thing of this story is that if they don't reverse that by sunrise, then the parents will, like, everyone will stay in hell forever. And the witches will walk free forever, basically. Is this a nitpick? Because it's literally the wording of the book. So literally the spell in the book, and they say it a few times, so it's kind of hard to ignore. On All Hallows Day, ere 12 is struck, trade 368, or insert any number here, this many souls until sun up. So I gathered from that that this spell will only last until sun up, and that they only are on Earth long enough to, let's say, do what they do in the first movie. Like, they have to steal some children's life force or whatever so that they can keep staying on Earth forever. That's what was in the first movie. So you think that they would follow that same logic? Nope. So there's like a twist where it's like, oh, instead of the spell lasting until sunup, the spell becomes permanent at sunup.
Yikes!
Zoinks!
Yeah, so it really wants to be like a Return to Halloween Town situation where it's like a race the clock scenario. But the first one made more sense, and it was a better race the clock scenario. So I don't know why you made it so convoluted, or did you just want like a midway twist where it's like, oh, you thought that it was until sunup, but it's actually it's permanent at sunup. Like, it doesn't make sense, but whatever. Okay, that's the catalyst of this book. That's the crux. Then they meet up with Katie, who is the daughter of, like, Jay from the movie. And Jay pulled a snake, and now he's the principal of the high school. And then there's, oh my god. And then there's, like, sorry, this is, like, coming back to me. Then there's, like, a subplot where Max and Jay sort of argue, like, why'd you leave me in the fucking... Like, it's just a fucking gag at the end of the movie where it's like, I take my shoes back and haha, you're stuck in the cage, like, I've tricked you. It's just a fun goof. But in this, it's like a thing where, like Poppy, even in her own narration, is like, why would my dad do that? That was so, like, mean of him. Could my dad really have done that? Like, why are we making this a thing? Like, this is just a goof from the fucking movie. But, like, we're making this, like, a whole subplot. I'm so confused. Like, it does truly remind me of fanfics where the author focuses on, like, a really tiny, unimportant detail from the source material and then just goes off for like a chapter about it to sort of resolve it. Like, that's really what it feels like. It also feels like, oh, original character has to save her parents, who are the original character, or the main characters of the original source material. You could literally swap her name with YN Stark, and it would be like same vibe, you know what I mean? I'm the coolest. Like, I'm gonna go save my parents from the evil of the original source material, and I'm gonna be so cool, and I'm gonna get the girl, and it's gonna be cool. Like, I have a quippy best friend. Like, it's just so I don't know how else to describe it other than fanficky. Like, if you've read fanfiction, you totally know what I mean. I hope you know what I mean. Even though Winnie summons all of her witch friends, like 300 something of them, they're still defeated. Even Winnie's mom shows up. It's a nice payoff to all the times that, like, Winnie would reminisce about her mother. To say that I predicted that the mom would be evil is giving me too much credit. Because to have predicted that, I would have had to somewhat care about what I was reading. And I just didn't do that. So I didn't predict anything about this. I could have, but I just didn't care. You know what I mean? Like, predicting plot beats didn't even give me joy. This book was just a slog to get. I was just like, okay, now we're here, and now we're on Winter Island again, and now we're back in the mainland, and now we're back on Winter Island, and I'm like, oh my god, can we just fucking, like, can we just end? This did not need to be 400 pages. Actually, the sequel is like 300 something pages. 320 pages, I want to say. It could have been half of that length. It totally could have been half of that length. Nothing happens in this. But going back to Katie, they meet up with Katie, and that I actually did predict, is that that Katie would be, she's like the arch rival in the book. She would be a friend by the end, and she totally was. There was even a bit where she like, oh, I'm sorry I was such a dick to you. I was just jealous because Bella was starting to hang out with you more. And I'm just like, please shoot me. It was old in like Lizzie McGuire. Like, you remember in Lizzie McGuire how like her and Kate used to be friends like 10 years ago, but then she got popular and then blah blah blah. Yeah, same thing. It was old then in 2003, and it is damn old now. Oh, and also Isabella and Poppy get together at the end. I mean, sorry if you really cared about this book, but spoilers, I guess. They get together, and that's actually one thing I like about the sequel, is that the gay representation I think is on point. It makes it normal. Literally, it makes being gay a normal thing. There's no Poppy coming out scene. There's no bullying because she's gay. Like, there's nothing like that. And I like that, like, there's no, oh, she can't like me, she's not gay. That's never in question. It's just like, oh, she can't like me because I'm not cool. I felt that so hard. Granted, I love all this stuff, but like, it's just a breath of fresh air to have being gay considered a normal thing especially in like a Disney. I was very surprised. I was like, is this fucking, yeah, this is Disney. They have their name plastered on this and everything. But yeah, gay representation in this book, top tier. Everything else, Samus thumbs down gif fuck's sake. Hey guys, it's me again, Bloodwork Mo. I'm sitting here, James Tellis style. I can understand why he does this. This is way more comfortable than my desk chair, not gonna lie. So there's a bit in part 2, I don't know how this slipped my mind, maybe I repressed it, but Mary has a solo number. And I don't know where else to inject it, but it's apparently Mary feels sad that Winifred always overlooks her, calls her dumb, blah blah blah. So she has like a whole jazz solo where she's dancing on storefronts, she enchants instruments to come to life and play for her, and there's like choreography and everything. It definitely does not translate in the medium of book, but that's a thing. And it's not even, it doesn't necessarily come out of nowhere, but it's like Sarah gets just as bad bullying from Winifred. Like, I don't know why she doesn't get like a Disney princess I want more solo. It's not that I disliked it per se, but I was just like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, is it because we had I Put a Spell on You in the first one and that's like we need a musical number in this one? Cause that was not good. It wasn't good, it didn't make sense. It doesn't really come out of nowhere because it kind of sets up that like Mary feels sort of, you know, neglected by Winifred. But that's the thing, Winifred's a dick to everybody, including Sarah, so I don't know why. I don't know if it's because it's like sequel and we need something to do with her, like maybe she can have like a little arc, but this doesn't go anywhere. It's not like Winifred treats her better at the end. Like nothing changes between their relationship, so it's like, why did we have this? So I didn't mention the zombies. There's zombies. So okay, so this is really fucking stupid. That's the tagline for the sequel. So after the fucking Lance Stewart cardboard and water bottle Ouija board, please tell me y'all get that reference, by the way.
That's not even funny, dude.
It's like an H3 video from forever ago. Oh my god! They literally do the Dude, I'm like... Dude, okay, so... Okay, sorry, I'm on this page, but also Binks says this. Binks returns as a ghost. I'm guessing your dad's no longer a virgin. And Poppy rightfully says, gross. This is why. That's bad. Don't say that. Don't fucking say that. But yeah, okay, so I'm literally just like right now because they deadass do the bit where Lance is like calling a fax machine and he's like, do you remember that? Do you remember this bit or am I going nuts? So he clearly calls a fax line. Lance Stewart, that is. He clearly calls a fax line because all you hear is like the and he's like, whoa. That's fucking spooky. When it's like, you called a fucking fax line, Lance. Same deal, she picks up the phone and she's like, hello? And oh my god. Poppy picks up the phone and she gets entranced by Sarah's song. Sarah steals Isabella's phone and just fucking goes through her contacts and somehow manages to bewitch like children of Salem, like through the phone. You know what would have been easier to do? The thing you did in the first movie where you just flew over the town and just sprinkled like, I feel like that would be way more effective. Because, you know, you did it in the first movie and it worked. But no, it's 2018, we have to add that modern technology, sprinkle that modern technology in there, even though if it doesn't make any fucking sense. So, with the zombies, this has to do with it, I promise. So when the zombies all get to Winter Island, they're on Winter Island looking for the Blood Moonstone, whatever. There's dead ass a Twitter hashtag. Salem, Massachusetts is trending on Twitter. Zombie hordes converge on the sleepy eastern seaboard town and move toward Winter Island. Hashtag spell on you. Cell phone calls reportedly hypnotized thousands on Halloween night. And Rihanna teases new album. Which, when is she not dropping music? Let's be real, that's not like an event. You can set your book in 2018. Don't shove it in my face like, look at the technology we have, it's 2018! Katie's like, ugh, I knew I hated crowdsourcing. Okay. Yeah, calls have been reported as far as Seoul, South Korea. Why? why? You don't need people in South Korea. All of the action is taking place in Salem. Oh, it's a worldwide phenomenon, and if we don't stop it, then they're gonna take over the world. And it's like, yeah, but we already knew they were gonna take over the world. That was the plan. Another thing I had about this book, as I'm taking all the tabs out, so you can hear that in the background maybe. The other thing I had about this book was they really tried to have a burning rain of death moment. Now what that means is, in the original, Max wasn't really portrayed as like a smart kid, but he still had like his wits, you know? So he could still outmatch the witches with his quote-unquote modern sensibilities, because, you know, he's from the 90s, so he has knowledge of the 90s or whatever, the like modern technology. So he uses that to his advantage. He's like, hark, I'm a fucking wizard and I can create rain, like burning rain of death out of nothing. And so he does the trope of like holding up a lighter to like this sprinkler system and setting off all the sprinklers. Like, it's a cliche with an original twist, and I really enjoyed that, because it also shows that he's a somewhat smart kid who can, you know, think on the fly with stuff like that. Same with the kiln scene. Like, Allison came up with the idea to fucking burn the witches in the kiln. It was clever in the sense that they had to trick them to get them there, with more modern technology. So they try to do that in this book. It just doesn't feel genuine at all. It feels like another instance of, oh, the movie did this, so now we have to do it. It also feels like it's trying to live up to the original, but just being like a really awful, it pales in comparison. So in the sequel, they use their cell phones. So they basically call each other on their cell phones and make like an echoey effect, because it's like anything the witches say will essentially get bounced back to them because it's taken in by the phone and then played back through the receiver. And it's like, hey, I am a witch as well, and my power is I've summoned your future selves, and now that you've met your future selves, you've caused an anomaly in space-time, and therefore you have to die. And I'm like, that's fucking stupid. Like, that's no shade, but that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my entire life. Like, I don't know what the fuck even to say to that. The burning rain of death scene, it took like I said, it took a cliche and sort of spun it on its head and made it original and fun. He took a modern thing and tricked them with their 1600 sensibilities and made it something they could understand. Like, oh, I summoned burning rain of death. I cast this spell upon you, and it's just like a modern invention, right? So that's like the twist of it. You think the witches are gonna know what like their future selves and the space-time continuum even are? You're putting something that will guarantee to confuse them, but you're tricking them with something that will also confuse them. Does that make sense? The burning rain of death scene was fun and simple and charming, but this is just very convoluted, and you're really fucking trying to be like the original, and it's just not it. This ain't it, Chief. This ain't it at all. Also, I'm coming up to a page 331. The chapter title is Squad Ghouls. I hate this book. That's the thing, there's not really much else to say about the sequel. Like, obviously they win the day in the end, but I think all of my feelings of this sequel can be summed up in the ending. So they're at the lighthouse, there's an epic battle, it goes on for like 3 chapters, it's crazy. There's witches flying around, I was picturing it in my head, and in my head it was very visual, like visually interesting, very descriptive, it's all over the place. I liked it, but for the movie, I wouldn't call the climax epic. Don't get me wrong, it was very intense. It was these characters that we cared about over the course of that we start to care about over the course of the movie. They're in peril. Like on the edge of my seat. Fucking Bette Midler is holding him like by his shirt and just going like, and it's very fucking intense and scary. The music's like swelling and like the sun is rising slowly and it's very like intense. It's just very well put together. It's a very well put together scene. Actually, you know what? That's another point to part 1 of the book, because when that scene is happening, you really feel like his life force and his memories are just being taken from him. It's so well described. Like, I actually really enjoyed reading that bit where it was like, you really feel his life being physically fucking sucked away and him reliving his moments up until, you know, when he was a kid, when his sister was born, and then when he moves to Salem and then meeting Allison and all this stuff is flashing through his head, and it's very like emotional. So it's less action heavy and more emotion heavy, which I honestly quite enjoyed because it didn't need heavy action to be intriguing, you know? This, on the other hand, feels like it needs to be throwing shit at us constantly. Like, there's witches fucking circling everywhere, and the light is blinking, and railings are collapsing, and fucking the waves are just fucking thrashing, and like, don't get me wrong, I love an epic climax, but A, this doesn't feel deserved, because it's just like epicness coming out of nowhere from like slow, boring fucking build up, and B, because it just, we don't care about these characters. Like, if this was in like a well-written but like an epic medieval fantasy, I would be like, yeah, I totally dig this. But I don't care about these characters. The fucking MacGuffin of this story is ridiculous. Oh, yeah, okay, so the MacGuffin of this story is called the Blood Moonstone. I have to change my battery, so I'll be right back. So the MacGuffin of this story is the Blood Moonstone, which is the Sanderson sister, or the Sanderson family heirloom, I guess. In the book, it specifically can undo any Sanderson spell. Any one of them. Specifically a Sanderson spell, which I thought was fucking stupid, but whatever, sure, it's a family heirloom, whatever. I don't know, like, the only reason they even need the stone is to destroy it. Therefore, it can reverse all of the Sanderson spells and therefore bring everyone back to hell and also stop Isabella from being a dog.
Moral of the story is real good on this one. It's don't be unlucky and be a dog. That's a good one.
Oh yeah, also Isabella gets turned into a dog for a hot minute, but this is another way it feels like fanfic, I swear to God. I'm not making this shit up. Have I mentioned there's a fourth Sanderson sister? That also, that's also very fucking fanfic, where it's like, there's a fourth one. It's my OC, Samantha. Like, fucking, no, it's Elizabeth. Elizabeth, I was close, it was Elizabeth. It's Elizabeth. Her great descendant is Isabella, so therefore she is a witch. So her ghost helps Isabella like essentially train her powers, more like a one and done situation, like, oh, after one training montage we're masters now, which is my favorite trope. There's a scene where Elizabeth literally just like, I don't even remember what she does. Elizabeth is like blah 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 focus or whatever, and then Isabella's not a dog anymore. She's like, oh, I tried this, oh my god, that's it. Okay, so she's like, when I heard you also had lightning powers, I knew that blah blah blah. And I'm like, what does having lightning powers have anything to do with anything? But that's not, whatever, fuck me, I guess. It's like, oh, because you have lightning powers, we can do this and it'll stop you from being a dog anymore. And I'm like, I'm fucking like over it. So you have to understand, at this point, I'm over it. So I'm like, fuck it, and just get through, just whatever, let's just get on with it. So now Isabella's not a dog anymore, because fucking Deus Ex Machina, whatever. Is it Deus Ex Machina if it's more like an ass pull. She just pulls it out of her ass. Dead ass. So she and Elizabeth destroy this fucking moonstone that's not really tied to anything. Maybe if they used it to cast spells, because they're not powerful, they're in hell, like the witches are in hell, so they can't, that's the only worldly way they can do magic now, is through that stone. Maybe. Then maybe I could understand breaking it to reverse the spell. Or you honestly could have just been like, oh, it's the fucking undo dust from Wizards of Waverly Place, you just sprinkle it and it fucking reverses. Like, that makes more fucking sense than this stupid shit. I can't. I feel like I'm being overly mean, but like, I fucking hate this. I hate that they took one of my favorite movies and gave it a sequel that nobody asked for. Like, I'm upsetty spaghetti, alright? Fuck! They zap the stone, it explodes, there's like a fake out death because it's Disney. They need to fucking have a fake out death. But it's like, phew, she's actually okay, and then they kiss, and it's actually kind of cute. Sorry, one more. I forgot about the epilogue. It's eye for an eye. Apparently there's someone missing. She's been missing for about a year, so when the books, the parts of the sequel take place in 2018, so this is a year later. Oh yeah, and the main book ends with Winifred's spellbook is missing. Again.
With the potatoes and
I am not. I refuse to fall for your threequel. I barely wanted this one. I do not need a threequel. Thank you very much. Okay, so yeah, so there's a young witch boy. He's like, oh, thanks for exchanging your body with me. He's talking to the poster. He's talking to himself at the poster. So he's talking at this poster to himself. Because his mental health is doing great, thank you for asking. And he's like, welcome back, Billy. Great things await us. And I'm like, leave my mans alone. He's been through enough. Let him rest. Also reveals that the teen witch, as he's described, has Winifred's spellbook. So that's where that went off to. I hope you didn't worry about that too much because they reveal it immediately after. If it's anything like 1986 Teen Witch, then I'm gonna love it. But I don't know. You can't really top that.
If you want to hang with me, I'll give it one shot. Top that.
I'll see myself out. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just seeing this. So the spell that the teen witch boy uses, it's basically the original spell from the first movie, just with a couple words changed, which is fine. So in the original, Winifred was Billy's girlfriend, who cheated on her with Sarah. It's like a whole thing. The spell she uses is Unfaithful Lover Long Since Dead. This one switches to Unfaithful Brother. I don't know what to make of that. Am I supposed to take that literally? Is that his brother? Or did they just need a word that wasn't lover, that sounded like lover? I can't tell. I guess we'll have to wait until this shitty threequel comes out. Because you know me, your friendly neighborhood degenerate is gonna read it. But anyway, back to the rest of the video. I'm so tired. Oh my god. And that is the Hocus Pocus sequel. Like I said, not a lot happens in it. And what does happen is very trite and cliche. Like, a lot of stuff you'd find from, not just a sequel, but from like a cliche teen movie. I don't know. So this is credited to an A.W. Jantha. And, yeah, I hope the paycheck was worth it. I don't know if I'm the cynical one here or if this is just a cynical fucking cash grab, but I didn't like it. It was cliche, it was boring. The characters are so fucking dated. Like, they use terms like bamf and thirsty. Like the fucking Steve Buscemi meme where it's like, how do you do, fellow kids? Ugh, it's rough. The character of Travis is literally just goofy best friend stereotype, and not in the fun way. For every one funny line he has, he says five or six cringy, awful things to balance it out. So I hate him. Please avoid this book. Please don't give Disney any more of your money. They don't deserve it. I'm kind of curious to see, like, I hear the adaptation. I assume it's going to be an adaptation of this, unless they're gonna write another screenplay, which I hope they do, because any screenplay would be fucking better than this trash. Disney is just built on, like, false nostalgia, and it's like dangling keys in your face. It's like, ooh, do you remember Hocus Pocus? Love you, Hocus Pocus! And then they throw it into a pile of shit. And they're like, go get it. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. Again, maybe I'm just a cynical dickhead, but like, I see stuff like this, and it makes me upset that I'm like, why do you have to tarnish? At least we have the original movie that we can enjoy, and we can just ignore this crap. Am I too upset? I'm like honestly laughing and having fun and talking about this, but like, I do. It does make me low-key upset, you know? Literally, it would be like if you made a sequel to Halloween Town now. Like, who the fuck would want that? Nobody. Absolutely nobody. Like, Disney, do not get any ideas. Nobody fucking wants that. I know people on the internet say like, oh, it's sequel. That could be so much fun, but like, do not. Please do not. Sequels that are written like decades after the original are never good. Anchorman 2, Zoolander 2. More examples that I'm gonna show on the screen. It's never good. It's always, it's literally always like, we have a popular IP and now look, they're older, but they still get up to the same shenanigans. Like, I'm over it. I'm over it. But anyway, this has been my video. If you watch this long, I appreciate you. Please like and subscribe. It helps the channel out. I do plan on making weekly videos. Hold me to that because I genuinely mean it this time. I do hope to make videos for you every week, and I hope you enjoyed them. I have been Mortimer Sabra. A good night. Should we bring back the clap? I think we should. Hold up. 1, 2, 3.